Hello, beautiful people. Today's video is all about how you can support someone who is having a panic attack. I know it can be very confusing in that moment when you're witnessing a loved one or even a stranger, maybe a coworker, have a panic attack and you're unsure about what to say or do. You don't want to make the situation worse and you know you want to help and support them, but you don't really know exactly what to do. I've created this video to give you 5 simple things that you can do in that moment to help the person who is experiencing the physical and emotional symptoms that come along with the panic attack and really help them step into a place of presence and feeling grounded. Before we get started, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Manpreet Kaur, Manny K for short, and I make weekly videos on self and spiritual development. Today's video is made for informational and educational purposes only. It is not meant to substitute professional medical advice or substitute any consultation by healthcare professionals. So if you are seeking that sort of advice, please do so. With that, let's get right into today's video. There are a couple things I wanted to mention before we get into the 5 ways that you can support someone who is having a panic attack. The first thing I wanted to mention is that you get to check in with yourself. The purpose of being in support in this moment is to reduce stress, to prevent the situation from getting worse, and infuse the situation with some sort of control. The person who is having a panic attack right now does not feel like they're in control of themselves or their lives. And you stepping in to be that pillar of groundedness and presence is to provide that sort of support. So when you check in with yourself, if you yourself are having anxious thoughts, or maybe you are not clear right now in this moment as to how you can support them best. Maybe the type of panic attack that they're having is definitely crossing a lot of boundaries for you and you don't feel safe yourself, then you can definitely step away from the situation. Do not try to be support for this person in this moment if you yourself don't feel like you have the right tools to begin with. If you yourself don't feel grounded or you feel that you are having certain boundaries get crossed, then I would advise you to step away from the situation and bring in someone else who can really stand as that pillar of groundedness in that moment. Because that is the first and foremost important thing in this moment, is to make sure that the person who is providing support is in flow with themselves and aren't getting disrespected and aren't being overwhelmed by the current situation. So if you check in with yourself and you are ready to be of support, then definitely continue with the steps that I'm about to provide. But if you have checked in with yourself and you are getting overwhelmed and you yourself feel like you are getting anxious because of the situation, then definitely feel free to step away and pull someone else in who can be of support. That is the number one greatest thing you can do in this moment, is to recognize whether you are the right person to be of support in this moment. And if you are not, pulling someone else in who can be to help the situation, that's going to be the way that you support in this moment. If you have checked in with yourself and you are ready to be that person who is going to reduce the stress, prevent the situation from getting worse, and to infuse that sense of control for that person, then by all means follow along to the next steps that I'm going to provide. The next thing I wanted to mention before getting right into the 5 ways is that panic attacks can look different for everyone. For some people, it looks like hyperventilating. For some people, it looks like sweating and a really fast heartbeat. Some people get nausea, they get stomach pain and chest pain. But I also wanted to mention that sometimes it looks like dissociation. So someone might be having a panic attack, but also dissociating at the same time. So their symptoms might not be as in your face as the hyperventilating or having that chest pain, and might be dissociating with a really fast heartbeat. So when you're in communication with someone, or if someone is starting to act a little bit off in that moment where they were doing something, but then all of a sudden their actions changed and they aren't really fully in line with what they were doing, maybe check in with them and see how they are doing and if they are okay. Maybe they need to take a break from whatever they're doing, but sometimes having a panic attack can look like dissociation and not being fully present with what is going on. So that is something I just wanted to make you guys aware of, that not all panic attacks look the same. And sometimes some people have gotten so used to having panic attacks or have a certain trauma response to things that they're so used to acting like everything is okay on the outside, but on the inside, things are breaking and things are going crazy within them. So I'm not saying you guys have to be mind readers or you guys have to always know when someone is having a panic attack, but I just wanted to put that out there, that panic attacks can look different for everyone. But if something is really in your face, then obviously you know some of the things that you can check in with them immediately to start helping them feel more grounded and feel more present. But sometimes if someone just, seems like they were doing something properly and then all of a sudden maybe they start doing it a little bit slower or they start getting distracted, maybe just check in with them, be like, hey, do you need to take a break or do you need to sit down? Can I support you with something? Is everything okay? Maybe checking in with them in that way would help support them, maybe open up to you and tell you what is going on within them. And then you can also still use the 5 tips that I'm going to provide for you. So just wanted to put that out there. Not all panic attacks look the same, and you just checking in with someone sometimes if they feel a little bit off or if they feel like, they aren't really in line or in the present moment. Sometimes you really can support someone who hasn't really always felt like they could go to someone or share with them what is going on with them internally. So with that, let's get right into the 5 ways. The first thing is don't ever assume and always ask questions. So throughout this process, when you are supporting someone who is having a panic attack, I would advise you to always ask questions. Even with the situation where someone is maybe dissociating, asking, hey, are you okay? Do you need a break? Can I support you in some way? Please let me know. Always asking questions rather than coming from a place of, hey, I think you need to take a break, or hey, I think you need to sit down, or, calm down, don't worry. I would always ask questions. Don't always assume that you know everything that's going on, because when you assume, that makes the person want to shut down and have their walls go up. So when you're asking questions and you're trying to show them that, hey, I want to hear from you and what is going on, they're more likely to step into that vulnerable place to really share where they're at. So that's number 1. Don't assume and always ask questions. Number 2 is always be predictable and avoid surprises. When someone is going through a panic attack, they feel like they are losing all sense of control. And when someone is losing all sense of control, anything happening out of nowhere is going to startle them and make the situation worse, especially if they're having those physical symptoms of being unable to breathe properly, or a fast heartbeat, or sweating, chest pain, anything like that. Having anything be a surprise to them or, invading of their environment and their personal space is going to send them in a downward spiral. So make sure you're being predictable with your actions and your notions, maybe still allowing some personal space between you and them so that they feel like they're in a safe space and you're not invading their privacy. So number 2, make sure you're being predictable, that they can always see you, or that you are at least at a distance from them where they know you're there, but maybe that you're not invading that personal space that they have. So this can be very important when it comes to touch. So more than often when someone's having a panic attack, some of our initial response is to go and, calm them down by touching their back or patting their back. And while that most of the time is okay, doing that without asking permission, so 1, you might have assumed without asking, or 2, just making it something that you do out of nowhere when maybe you weren't in clear line of sight for them, can be something that would startle them and that would exacerbate their symptoms. So when it comes to doing something like getting into their personal space during this moment, I want you to really be aware of how you're doing it, and are you asking the question? Are you in their line of sight? So again, make sure you're being predictable and avoiding any sort of surprise. Number 3 is going to be help slow down the person's breathing. So I want you to help them breathe in for 4 counts, pause for 1 or 2 counts, and then breathe out for 4 counts. And maybe doing it with them is going to be very supportive. I would do that about 10 times. So if you have asked them like, hey, is it okay if I help pat your back or help you through this? And they said it's okay, that can be supportive, because when you have your hand on their back and you're breathing in and breathing out with them, they feel like someone is helping support, get them grounded in that motion. But if it's not okay that you touch them at that moment, or maybe you didn't ask that and you're standing a distance away from them, showing them and telling them, hey, I'm going to do it with you. So let's breathe in for 4 and let's breathe out for 4. So really showing them that, hey, I'm doing this with you and I want to help you slow down your breath. Getting them to focus on their breath is going to be very, very, very important in this moment, because right now their thoughts are running wild and they're focusing on those intrusive thoughts rather than their bodily function of breathing that's going to give them that life, right? So if they can't breathe properly, of course they're going to be feeling like they're going to shut down and not be able to get past this moment. So it's really important to help them focus on their breath in this moment. Another really great breathing technique is that box breathing technique. So if you want to help them breathe in for 4, pause for 4, breathe out for 4, pause for 4, and do that 10 times, it can be really calming for their nervous system. So getting them to that headspace where it's, hey, we need to focus on your breath. So listen to the sound of my voice and I'm going to breathe with you. So really guiding them through that breathing technique is going to be really supportive and helpful. Number 4 is I want you to speak to them in small phrases. Anything that's going to be supportive for them is going to come in small doses. Right now, their thoughts are going wild and their thoughts are just spiraling out of control. So you need to give them small, understandable chunks of information that they can put into their minds to kind of stop those intrusive thoughts. So things that sound like, tell me how I can support you. So saying it slowly, saying it in a way that's very calming and soothing, listening to slow sentences and only a few words is going to really interrupt that thought process for them. So other phrases that you can use are, I am proud of you. Hey, what you're feeling is scary, but it's not dangerous. Right now, this place is safe. It's your thoughts that are making you think otherwise. So really reminding them in that moment that, hey, I'm proud of you and you're going to get through this. Reminding them that someone is there to support them. So you saying, hey, tell me how I can support you. And then the other thing, really reminding them that they're in a safe space and what they're feeling might be scary right now, but it's not dangerous. They're going to be okay. So saying those sorts of phrases and saying them in a really calming, soothing, slow way is really going to help interrupt that fast-paced, intrusive feeling that they're having inside of them. I also wanted to mention here of things not to say. The next 3 things that I'm going to say are things that sometimes make people have their walls go up or it really doesn't help support the situation. So saying things like calm down or don't worry or try to relax are actually sort of aggravating for this situation. So I would stay away from those 3 phases. I know you might be only trying to support in that moment, and those are sort of easy go-to phrases that we do go to when someone is going through something because we aren't really sure of what to say. But saying those things might actually exacerbate the panic attack. So I would stay away from those 3 phases of calm down, don't worry, or try to relax. I would focus more on, hey, I'm proud of you. You're doing amazing. You're doing great. How can I support you? And really just reminding them again that, hey, I know what you're feeling is scary, but don't worry, it's not dangerous. You are safe right now. I am here with you. Showing them and reminding them that, hey, there is that tether to reality, that you are there with them and you're helping ground them in that present moment. Once you've gotten through the process of utilizing those 4 ways that I just mentioned, the 5th thing that I want you to do is help them use their senses to get grounded into the present moment. So I want you to ask them, hey, what are 5 things that you see? Can you describe them to me? So even getting through that first 5 things you see might be difficult, but once you've, calmed them down with those calming, soothing phrases and really got them to balance their breathing, even though it seems like they're calm in that moment, this last step is really there to bring them through the finish line. So ask them, like I said, what are the 5 things that you see? Can you describe them to me? So here they're going to be using their eyesight, right? The next thing, once they've done that, what are 4 things that you can touch? So maybe it's just them touching their hands and they're telling you, hey, I'm touching my hands. They're soft. Okay, maybe then they're touching their jeans. Okay, what do your jeans feel like? So walking them through touching 4 different things. The next thing is, what are 3 things that you hear? So if you are in an office building, do they hear someone walking, or do they hear a door closing and shutting? Maybe they hear a fan. Maybe you guys are outside, so you do hear cars going around. Maybe you hear a baby crying in the distance or a dog barking. So get them to tune into their sense of hearing. What are the 3 things that they hear? The next thing is, what are 2 things that they can smell? So if you're outside, maybe that you guys can step over to some flowers and you guys can smell the roses. Or if you have any like calming, soothing scent, lavender is a great one. Maybe they can smell that. So having 2 things that they notice that they can smell. And then the last one is 1 thing that they can taste. So, maybe it's just a piece of gum, or, just getting a quick snack, something that they can taste. The reason why I'm advising to walk through the 5 senses is because this is the last way to get the person grounded, to get them to touch and see and hear and smell and taste. They're really bringing themselves back to reality and realizing that they have control over the situation and that they are the ones who can take back their power and really feel like they can be the ones in control of their lives. So that is the last step and the last way to really help support someone and walk them through their panic attack. And remember, these steps might take a little longer than the way I just explained them. A couple of them are there to help you in, the ways that you speak and how you provide support, but really focusing on the phrases and their breathing, as well as using their senses, are going to be the real key ways for you to help this person through their panic attack. I hope you guys got some value from this video. If you did, definitely like and comment down below. I would love to hear from you guys if you guys do try these techniques, or if you guys happen to feel like you guys have any advice of your own. I know people in our community would love to hear about them. If you haven't hit subscribe or that notification bell yet, definitely go ahead. I make weekly videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I love you guys so much, and for now, I'm tuning out.